Hi there. My name is Alison Lush. I'm a certified professional organizer in Montreal. Thank you very much for joining me today. So, do you have difficulty sometimes managing your bag collection? Do you sometimes have the feeling that they multiply in the night while you're asleep? You don't know where they come from. You've just got so many of them. So it's wonderful for the environment that we don't take plastic bags in the stores as much as we used to or at all anymore. The thing though is that it leaves us with this additional thing that we have to manage and learn how to deal with and have in our lives is the reusable bags. So there's a lot of things in common with this collection as with any collection that we've got, whether it be books or shoes or clothes or kitchen things or anything that we've got, any collection. There are similarities there in the way that we manage them, but there are things that are particular to bags, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about because every home I go in to work with clients in their homes, every single home has this challenge of these bags, and people go, what do I do with them? What do I do with them? So I've identified 8 points that I want to point out to you today. Let's get to it. So first point, number 1, roll your bags. This is something that I really believe in. I recommend to all my clients to do. It's only a few seconds, especially once you get used to it. Roll up the bag, put an elastic bag or a band around it. It takes up less room. It's easier to find. It doesn't go all over the place. And when you open up the bag, here, let's open up let's open up this one. So you open up the bag and I just take off the elastic band and I just pop it right inside the bag so that when I'm finished using the bag and I want to roll it up again, the elastic band is right inside. Okay, so that's one. Number 2, the fabric is not all equal. Not all bag fabric is created equal. So if you remember just a second ago, we had this one rolled up and it was just about like this. Compare this to this. You see that? That's because this is canvas. This big bag is canvas. It's not because it's a huge bag. It's because the fabric is extremely thick and stiff. And this one is a completely different fabric. It's very, very thin. And look at that. It's not one bag. It's 2 bags inside here in this smaller bundle than that black one there. So not all fabrics are created equal. You might want to think about it, especially, if you're concerned about how much room it takes up in your purse or in your pocket or in wherever it is you store the bags. Number 3, the handles are not all the same. So if you notice here, and hang on one second, here it is. Here and here we have 2 bags. You can see very easily short handle versus long handle. And why could this be an interesting point to point out is because depending on how tall you are, these handles actually, when I'm carrying this bag, it's dragging on the ground. And that's not very comfortable for me. I don't want my stuff dragging on the ground. So I don't like long handles. One more thing to consider. And let's stop for 1 second. Why are we talking about all these different characteristics? It's because, as with any collection, it's a good idea to understand the characteristics so that we can evaluate it, because we frequently find ourselves in a situation where we feel we have too many. And when we want to reduce, what we want to do is evaluate, compare one to another and figure out, why is this one a good one to keep and why should I be keeping this one and which do I care about and what are my uses and what are my values? That's all that we're talking about here. We're just talking about how to evaluate individual things so that it's easy for you to get rid of the ones that you want and hang on to the ones that you care about. So, the sun is lovely coming in here. It's going to go down in just a couple seconds. Number 4, the aesthetics. So if we look at a bag like this one here, it's got an advertisement on it. Now, some people couldn't care less if there's publicity on their bag or on their clothes. That's fine. Some people don't want to have, absolutely, they're against the idea of having a publicity on their clothes or on their bags. That's fine. And some people, it depends on what the publicity is. It has to be something that they care about and they want to promote and they want to show off that that's what their values are. That's fine too. It doesn't make any difference. My point is, understand where you stand in terms of what you want, if you care about whether there's a publicity or not, or which ones. So for me, it's easy. This one I'd rather not have. So it's easier for me to get rid of it because I've already identified that particular point. Fabric. Then we look at, for example, this one versus this one. And if I touch the 2 of them, they feel very different. And this one also, it would show up dirt more easily. This one is softer. The fabric is different. So I might have a preference one way or the other, depending on how tactile sensitive I am. Third thing would be the color. So for example, if I compare this one to this one, The fabric is almost identical. They take about the same much amount of space when they're rolled up, but they're very different in terms of the characteristics of the color and style of the pattern. So I would have a strong preference for this one or for this one. Think about it. Beg your pardon. Number 5, how do we use our bags? So for example, one sec. I live in an apartment on the 3rd floor, and I do my shopping a lot in the neighborhood when I buy groceries. So this is my knapsack because I can carry an awful lot of weight, big groceries in here, and it's got a big strap that goes around my hips, and it spreads out the weight. This is very useful for me, despite the fact that this is a very large bag for me to keep in my closet in my small apartment. But because of the way I use it, it makes sense for me to keep it. Somebody who has a car and a house might very well prefer a bag like this. This is a beautiful design, this kind of a bag. This one is particularly from President's Choice, from Loblaws and Provigo, etc. And it's so practical. If you have a car and then you just carry your groceries into the house from the car, it stands up in the car, it stands up in the grocery, in the shopping cart, it stands up on your kitchen floor, and it folds up when you're not using it. It just folds in half. It's really a very practical bag. And you can use these all over your house for all kinds of different things, not just groceries. You see, if you have a cart, this is probably a really good bag. If you have a 3rd floor apartment like I do, maybe the knapsack is the better choice for you, or a bundle buggy on wheels. So think about your lifestyle. It will help you decide which bag is better value for you, better match. Next, we talked about that. So habits. So, for example, this is my set of favorite bags. I've got an elastic here. I'm going to roll it back up. It is a good habit to roll up my bags, because when I have these, my favorite bags, which I've already identified, because I went through all the exercise of figuring out what's my favorite fabric, what's my favorite color, what's my favorite tactile feel, and the length of the handles and all that stuff. It doesn't take long, and the more you do this, the faster it gets to think about these things, because the same concepts apply to clothing, to shoes, to books, to the kitchen stuff, to the bags. You get faster at this kind of thinking once you do it. So why is it a good habit for me to roll my bag? Well, it's a chain reaction. When it's rolled and small like this, it's so much easier for me to grab it and toss it in my bag or put it in my pocket as I'm going out the door. That's one. Second of all, beg your pardon, why is it that I want to carry this with me? What's the habit? Why is it a good habit to have this with me when I'm in the store? A couple of things. One is I don't want to be bringing home plastic bags. Sorry. Because it's not good for the environment, because it's better for my conscience not to bring home the bags, because I don't want to buy them, etc. If I don't buy the plastic bag, then I end up having to buy a $1 bag like this, and then I end up with more clutter in my house, plus I'm out the dollar. So carrying this, having this habit, it keeps me from having to buy these bags and bring them home. And also, when someone comes into my house and they're bringing me something, if they bring it in a bag and they just say, oh, just keep the bag, I say, thank you very much. I empty the bag and I give them back their bag. That's a really good way to keep the clutter from coming into my house, because I already have more bags than I need. I'll make one last point. I find it it's a really good habit or trick, tool, if you will, call it whatever you want. Have a container to put a collection in. So for example, this could be a container that I keep my bags in. This could sit in my front closet right near the door. And the reason why this is valuable is because I could decide, for example, this is enough bags. And when this is full, then I can say, that's enough, I don't need any more. And if it starts overflowing or they don't fit anymore, I can say, oh, that's the signal to me that it's time to go through them and do a little clearing out, and only keep the ones that I know that I really like and get rid of the ones that I don't care about. Because sometimes they walk in the door bags and you don't even realize it. And they multiply in the night. It's amazing. Bags just come out of nowhere. So deciding on a container that's an appropriate size for your collection. You can do this with bags. You can do this with t-shirts. You can do this with jeans. You can do this with books. Any collection, if you choose a size and you say that's going to be a big enough collection, this helps with walls. It helps you keep your collection into a good size. It's a very, very handy trick. So that's it for my points today on the reusable bags. I would love to know if you have any questions that I haven't talked about. I would love to know if you have tricks and comments and stuff about what you do with your bags and how you manage them, and And what characteristics do you like that are important to you that I haven't talked about? Besides that, I'm doing more and more videos now, and I'd be delighted if you would just click that little I like thing underneath the screen so that you can get the videos when they come out right away. Or if you want to go to my Facebook page and like that and follow my tips on there. I collect stuff from all over the place, from other organizers and from classes I take and from conferences I go to, and I try to make it all available to the public. And this is a great conversation discussing how things come into our lives. Why do they come in? Why do we choose to let them in? What do we do with them when they're here? How long do they stay? What do we do with them? How do we get rid of them? This whole conversation about the possession cycle, it's important, not important, but it's of interest to all of us because we all own stuff. So if you're interested in this conversation, come along for the ride with us and be my guest and jump in there and make comments. We'd be delighted to hear from you. Alison Lush, Certified Professional Organizer in Montreal, thank you very much for being with us today. See you next time.